Hi, my name is Wally Vaughn, and I am the author of this work, Juneteenth Researchers Incorrect About Slaves in Texas. And I would like to speak to you for a few moments about the uniqueness of this work. The claim of Juneteenth researchers is that the slave community in Texas first heard about the Emancipation Proclamation on June 19, 1865. And they also give the uh, presentation that slaves were unaware and there were no Union forces in Texas until June 19, 1865. But if we look at this carefully, we know that in the National Archives, the Library of Congress, there is an abundance of information which confirm that the slave community in Texas knew about the Emancipation Proclamation on January the 1st, 1863, when the proclamation became effective. We know this uh, because the Battle of Galveston was fought on January the 1st, 1863. The Battle of Galveston was between Union Army and Union Navy forces opposing the Confederate Army and Confederate Navy forces at Galveston. So we know the Union had forces in Galveston, Texas on January the 1st, 1863. The Union lost the battle and was driven out, but the Union Navy returned 4 days later. I saw a gentleman in Texas who was making a presentation for the Juneteenth uh, proposal, and he was talking about the Battle of Galveston. And I thought to myself, if you are a Juneteenth supporter and talking about the Battle of Galveston, you are undoing your own argument. And then another piece we have which confirms for us that the slave community in Texas knew about the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 comes from the Galveston Weekly News, the weekly newspaper from Galveston. And it was written in the Galveston Weekly News on July the 29th, 1863. Flake's Bulletin of Tuesday says 5 Negroes attempted to escape from Galveston to the Federal blockaders on that morning in a skiff, but were overhauled by the steamer Diana's boat and 12 men who were fired upon by the enemy but without effect. So we have slaves leaving slave owners in Galveston in 1863 trying to reach Union Navy vessels in the Galveston Bay. Why were they trying to reach Union Navy vessels in the Galveston Bay? Because Galveston Bay was the headquarters for the Union Navy during the Civil War. But Juneteenth researchers are unaware of that. The Union Army made a great presence in Texas, making a second appearance during the latter part of 1863 under Major General Nathaniel Banks of the headquarters of the Gulf, New Orleans. And they came to Texas around October of 1863. Brownsville, Texas became the headquarters for the Union Army at that time. And slaves ran away from owners in Texas, made their way to Brownsville, and enlisted in the Union Army. Now, I'm going to read for you one citation from uh, Union Army records regarding recruiting at Brownsville of slaves in late 1863. We have a communication dated Brownsville, December 2nd, 1863, and the message sent forward back to New Orleans was 33 men have been mustered into the 26th Regiment, Corps d'Afrique. That was the colored regiment, as they would call it, which was formed and comprised of slaves that had run away from owners in Texas. That was the commencement of this regiment. We know from Union Army records that slaves also ran away from owners and enlisted in the Union Army in Texas in 1864. We know that slaves ran away from owners in Texas and enlisted in the Union Navy in 1863 and in 1864. The issue with the Juneteenth presenters is that they did no significant research. In fact, they did no research at all. The Union Navy and Union Army records and Union Navy and Confederate Navy records, these are the Civil War volumes that are used to do Civil War research. And those volumes are entitled Official Records of the Union and Confederate Navies in the War of the Rebellion, which is 30 volumes, and the War of the Rebellion, a compilation of the official records of the Union and Confederate armies, consisting of 127 volumes. So we're talking somewhere nearly at least 150 volumes that needed to have been consulted, but Juneteenth researchers did not consult the volumes. They lifted one citation from one page out of one volume and left 150 volumes or so unread and untouched. If you leave that much information unread, you're going to necessarily end up drawing the wrong conclusion. And that is what they did. You're welcome to consult this work. You can secure a copy from Amazon or any other publisher. You just Google this title, and all the online vendors who have this work, their names will come up, and you just make your purchase and read. You're going to enjoy this work, and it's going to definitely show you that the slave community in Texas, they were aware of the proclamation on January the 1st, 1863.